everybody. We talked about shadows and eclipses and types of eclipses. Today I just want to show you a PowerPoint of what we talked about and also about lunar eclipses, and next time we'll talk about solar eclipses. So this will be not that long a PowerPoint. So eclipses. Now, what we're going to do is talk about shadows a little bit here first. So here's a shadow we're used to, like seeing just a shadow anywhere. But remember, we talked about the types of shadows. We talked about that there is, if you have an extended source of light and you have an object, so here's the sun, here's the earth, what you can have is something like an umbra, a region of total shadow. You can have a region of partial shadow. So this is like a 3D view of what we were talking about last time. So we have the penumbra, we have the umbra. Now, for lunar eclipse geometry, and sorry, it's kind of off here a little bit as far as the what you're seeing. What we're going to do, remember, for a lunar eclipse, we're going to have you have to have a full moon. You have to have the moon also in the Earth's shadow. Now, the moon is not always going to go through the Earth's shadow. A lot of times the moon misses the Earth's shadow because of that 5-degree tilt of the moon's orbital plane to the ecliptic plane. But every once in a while, a couple times a year, the moon will travel through the Earth's shadow and it'll get darker. And sometimes it even gets redder, and we'll talk about why that is. Now, we're going to talk about the 3 types of lunar eclipses, which are good to know. Now, what might happen is this. Most of the time, the moon doesn't even make it. So here's the moon going around the Earth. That represents the moon. Here's the Earth. Most of the time, the moon doesn't even go through any of the shadows at all. It doesn't go through the umbra, doesn't go through the penumbra. Now, it's much more likely to go through the penumbra anyway. The penumbra is bigger. But most of the time, because of the 5-degree tilt of the moon to the ecliptic, that the moon could be 5 degrees north of the ecliptic or 5 degrees south, which means it could miss the sun by up to 5 degrees, either north or south. So as far as going through the shadow, I should say, miss the plane. Now, what happens sometimes is this. The moon could go through just the penumbra. So look, the moon could go straight through the penumbra, and what we get is a penumbral lunar eclipse. So for a penumbral lunar eclipse, the moon gets a little bit darker, but you can't even usually tell that. The moon it's a full moon, gets a little darker because it's in the penumbra of the Earth's shadow. And that's, you can't even tell that. So I call these horrible. I mean, it's bad to go out and look for an eclipse and just see a full moon. Say, hey, what's going on? I thought I was going to see something. Well, yeah, the moon's a little darker. You say, I can't tell it's a little darker. It looks kind of bright to me. So I say these penumbral lunar eclipses are horrible just because you can't tell the difference between them and a normal full moon. Well, if you want a little bit more action, you need to have this. You need to have the moon go at least partially through the umbra as it's going around the Earth. So here's the moon kind of hitting a little bit of the umbra, and that is called a partial lunar eclipse. And those are actually good. They're okay, they're good. I'd say they're good. So we go from horrible, because you can't even notice this eclipse is happening for a penumbral, to good. But the best type of lunar eclipse is when it goes, it goes into the penumbra, and then actually it goes through the umbra and then is into the penumbra on the other side. But when it's in the umbra, if it's all the way in the umbra, totally through the umbra, it's called a total lunar eclipse. And these are actually good to great. It's spectacular. The moon gets a coppery red, and here's why. From the moon's point of view, what it's going to see looking back at the Earth, if you were on the moon, sunlight gets bent through the Earth's atmosphere, and it's sunset colors in this ring all around the Earth. It would just be incredibly beautiful to see a total lunar eclipse. Well, actually, if you were on the moon seeing it this time, it would actually be a solar eclipse of the Earth blocking the sun. But we don't call it that because we're not on the moon. So from the Earth's point of view, it's a lunar eclipse. But if you're on the moon at that point, you'd have this ring of reddish light, sunset colors, because the moon is it covers the sun very easily from the moon's point of view. And you would have all this reddish light striking the moon, reddish, orange, coppery light. So that's total. That's the one you want to see, and I'll show you when you can see one. So this is kind of an example in space of the moon here going through the penumbra. Here's the umbra. It's not the best example because it's not even real. Now, look at this. So here's the penumbra. Think three-dimensionally. Here's the moon going through. Now, most of the time, again, it'll miss. Most of the time, it'll go too far north or too far south because of the 5-degree tilt of the moon's orbital plane to the ecliptic. But every once in a while, the moon will go through the penumbra. That's a penumbral lunar eclipse. When it goes through partially through the umbra, that's a partial. But when it goes totally into the umbra and it gets reddish, that's a total. That's a total lunar eclipse. So look at this. Here is a partial lunar eclipse, and you could tell here that something looks a little weird. Some people would look at it and say, oh, a nice crescent moon. But hopefully by now, after going through the moon's phases, if there's a crescent moon, you're not going to see this much of the moon showing. It would be gibbous. So if it's bent this way and you see more of the moon, hey, that's the shadow of the Earth. This is a lunar eclipse. And you can also tell this is not a phase of the moon. Look at that. Aren't you seeing kind of this grayish area? That's a shadow of the Earth's atmosphere. So this is not a phase of the moon. This is the moon going into the umbra. It's in the penumbra right here. It's hard to tell that. But it's going into the umbra of the Earth. It's a partial right here. Now remember, if you're in the umbra, all that reddish light will filter into there. So here's the moon in the penumbra, but right here, it's going into the umbra. So this is a partial again, but you're starting to see that reddish color. Look at this one from, looks like Utah of Arches, a nice eclipse from there. Look at this, how nice a color these are. These sometimes called blood moons, these total lunar eclipses. And I'm going to show you when you can see some. Look at that, just beautiful. A progression. A lot of times you have an hour of this. And well, you could have, maybe it'll be even more than that. You could have maybe maybe about an hour of partial, and then if it's going to be a total, this could last for over an hour for a total lunar eclipse, and then you have another hour once in the penumbra. Here's a nice shot from actually penumbral to actually when penumbral. This is a total, but this is when it's in the penumbra. Here it's in the umbra. And there it comes out of the umbra again. It's a nice, almost like a time-lapse, not a time-lapse video, but like a time-lapse just trail. Look at this one. There's a nice eclipse over, I don't even know where the moon is in the penumbra here. Here it is in the umbra. Now here's ones that we're going to get to see. Well, actually, here's one that you're not going to even want to see. I'm not going to even go out for this. Coming up, 5th of July this year. If you want to see something that's not spectacular, actually it's horrible. If you're expecting to see something nice and you don't, it's kind of horrible. It's a penumbral. And it's just, look at the moon. It's going just a little bit through the penumbra. You might notice something, but now I wouldn't even go out. And I don't know, can I zoom on this? Not really. But you can, if you want to check it out, if you don't believe me that they're horrible, go out and take a look at this. July 5th, coming up this year. Now, here's one that we're going to actually have eclipse at moonset, which is going to be very early in the morning, just before sunrise. You're going to see a total lunar eclipse next year in May, just about a year and a month from now or so. You're going to have a total that's going to be visible just early morning. You're going to want to go out just before the sunrise, not just before the sun rises, maybe eclipse at moonset. So when the full moon's going to be setting right as the sun's rising, maybe like 5 in the morning, if you want to get up then to see this. If you don't want to, I understand. You kind of don't want to stay up to see this, because then you're staying up to 5 in the morning, or 4 or 5 in the morning, because it's going to be happening just before the sunrise. So that's when the moon's setting. So when the moon's setting, it's going to be eclipse. It's going to be near shadow. And look at this. So you're going to see it's going to go into the penumbra, and then it's going to be in the umbra. It'll be a nice reddish color. Well, we might get this. Who knows? It could be fog then. But it's maybe not the best one. I'm still going to try to see this. I would still try. I wouldn't try to see a penumbral. I'd try to see a total, even if it's that early in the morning. Now, here's another one, a partial. But look at this. It's a partial because part of the moon it's not totally in the umbra. There's a little bit in the penumbra, so it's moving a little bit still in the penumbra. So they're calling it a partial, but in a sense, this is a total. I mean, it's as close to a total as you can get. And look, all the eclipse is visible. And let's see when this is going to happen. The first umbral contact to the last umbral contact. This is not so bad. This is about in November, about midnight or so. So I could stay up to midnight or a little bit after to see this. So this is a decent one. So that's in November of 2021. So we got a little bit of time for this one. We got over a year and a half or so. So this is, I'd see this one if you get a chance. Go out for this one. Here's a total one, 2022, May 16th. Let's see when this is happening. Eclipse at moonrise for us. So when the moon rises, it's going to be, you don't have to wait up late to see this. When it rises, it's going to be eclipsed. So, about 8 o'clock in May, I don't know, when the sun's setting, maybe 8 o'clock, and the moon's rising, it's going to be eclipsed. So that's May of 2022, a couple years from now. So that's a good one. That's a good one to see. And I think this one, a total. And are we going to get this all eclipse visible? You get another total. 2022, November 8th, you're going to get another total lunar. So look, you have plenty of opportunity in the next couple of years to see total lunars. Lunars are happening every 5 or 6 months anyway, but we're getting some totals coming up in the next couple of years. We're getting pretty lucky, and this will be, and so what we're going to talk about, we'll talk maybe a little bit more about lunars, but mostly we're going to save our energy for solar eclipses for next time. So there's the PowerPoint, and we will talk to you soon.